Good morning, Sunnyvale. Sunnyvale. We'll get started in just a moment. Happy Friday. We'll get started in just a moment. Good morning. Good morning, Sunnyvale. A few more people join. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, Sunnyvale. Happy Friday and happy May. Welcome to my weekly virtual office hours. I'm back from my spring break vacation. It was my first long vacation I've had since the beginning of COVID. You know, it's like it's been difficult to say the least. At some point, you know, it was good to finally take a break, disconnect a little bit. Still answering emails, still looking at, you know, what's going on in the city to some degree, but not answering constant phone calls, not keeping completely up to email. So I'm still kind of going through that backlog of email. But it was good to take a road trip. So our vacation was a road trip all the way back to Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, where I grew up. And so it was good to see, you know, where the house that I was mainly raised in as a kid, and where my grandmother lived, and kind of see how the city had changed. And it was actually the city where you know, Riverside, Ohio, where my mom was mayor when I was a 5-year-old. So it was good from that standpoint. And traveling around the country, it's great to see different sites, different cities. You know, this week's early artwork is actually from my travels. It's a mural from Chicago, and somewhat famous. The moose that is blowing bubbles. So you can kind of see that pretty famous Chicago artwork when we were going through Chicago, and of course visited, you know, the Bean and lots of sculpture. But it was good, you know, whatever city we went to, I was always seeking out the sculptures and the artwork wherever we could. You know, lots of outdoor events, not going as many museums, you know, going to some museums, but in general focusing on you know, seeing the sights, eating good food, and, you know, visiting some family, visiting, you know, some friends around the country. And so it was a good break. Happy to be back in Sunnyvale, of course. Happy to be back. You know, the weather is what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a little bit warmer and a little bit sunnier, but definitely we do need the rain, and still happy to have good weather. Let's go ahead and get started. You know, good morning. I'm Sunnyvale Mayor Larry Klein. Thank you for joining me again this week. We continue to have, you know, spring weather, the up and down, but happy to be back in town. This is the 158th installment of my weekly virtual office hours. Hope everyone has been doing well, staying healthy while I've been gone. We've now reached 1,145 days since the March 16, 2020 county health order started the shelter in place in an attempt to slow the spread of COVID-19. Over 3 years ago, I converted my weekly coffee shop office hours into this weekly live stream address, except for surgery and now a much needed vacation. I hadn't missed a week. But thanks for everyone who continues to join, and whether or not they're watching this live or watching this time delayed, over the last few years, it's been actually very, very useful to be able to get my word out on what's happening in the city and how you can get more involved. People still tell me they appreciate hearing from their mayor each week, whether or not they're watching this live, watching it, sometimes weeks later. But allows me to provide you updates, give you some general words of encouragement, tell you what the upcoming events are in our city. So much is happening, especially as we're entering that spring, summer timeframe. Lots are happening around the city. So thanks for joining me again, as always, and thanks for allowing me to continue to represent you and work for Sunnyvale. Most Fridays, today isn't one of those days. I follow up my live stream sessions with in-person meetings at Bean Scene on Murphy Avenue. It all depends on whether or not I have conferences, or, this morning I have a tour that I'll be going to a little bit later in the morning, right after this. So, but if you would ever like to reserve a 15-minute or 30-minute time slot, you can just email me at council@larryklein.com, and we can set up a time either during my office hour time slots or some other time during the week. Okay, let's go ahead and get started and talk about what's happened at the federal, state, county, and city level over the last few weeks. Last Tuesday, council met, and I actually took this meeting remotely. So following kind of the old Brown Act rules, and Brown Act is kind of the open meeting law for California, I was able to reserve a public conference room at one of the hotels, and we ended up in Bend, Oregon, but you actually have to post the agenda 3 days ahead of time. So before the meeting, that would be a public meeting. And actually during the meeting, if someone from the public in that city, in Bend, Oregon, wanted to testify, every public comment, you actually have to ask the person that's at that remote location whether or not anyone from the public is there to say a few words, to comment on that agenda item. So it was good. It was a workable solution, and that's actually far better than it was many years ago. Now in the world of Zoom technology, you can actually see the people, you can actually see the presentations. I remember 20 years ago when Councilmember Lee would take meetings from Asia, it would always be verbal, and he wouldn't be able to see what's happening in the meeting, because the only broadcast we did at that point was our local public broadcast station, so local cable, as opposed to now we do a Zoom meeting, we have our YouTube channel, and so we actually publicize what's going on in our meetings all the time. But it was good to take the meeting remotely and not have to rush back into Sunnyvale, so I was able to take an extra few more days and enjoy Bend before we finally came back to Sunnyvale at the end of last week. But the meeting started with a study session on equity, access, and inclusion in Sunnyvale, and it was kind of a training update and kind of some of the work that's been done with city staff. Council made it a strategic priority last year, and now more than 88% of staff have gone through that training, and I'm actually happy to see what our council, in the meantime, our council has actually become very diverse. It's the most diverse city council that we've had in our city's history, and it's good to hear how staff is going through and getting some of this training, and I think hearing just from some of the consultants, what we've done is, from a city standpoint, has been fantastic, and focusing on some of the efforts, as well as just getting that update, not just a quick report. But we spent a 2-hour study session on the topic, and then as far as the beginning of the meeting, we had several special orders of the day. First, we declared Small Business Week, and this week is Small Business Week. So get out there and shop local, eat at your local restaurants. I went back to Merit Vegetarian yesterday for lunch, and it was good to meet the owners. I last went there during COVID, in the first few months of COVID, when people were suggesting new restaurants to go to, and that to me was very important to highlight all the different restaurants. We're now over 230. I've got a few more posts coming up. Several new restaurants that have opened up in Sunnyvale over the last few months. But it was good to meet the owners, and they were very thankful for the publicity that we gave. And in Sunnyvale Small Business Program, we were giving away $15,000 to $25,000 grants in the middle of COVID in order to help fund and help make sure that those small businesses make it through the pandemic. And they were one of the ones that were very thankful. So it was good to go support your small businesses this week. We declared May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and we'll have other events coming up later this month. April, we declared April is Arab American Heritage Month. And we had someone from ING come and speak. And then, of course, we declared last week as Library Week. So lots of events happening at the library. I was just there yesterday. We'll talk about that in a minute. But lots going on within the city. As far as the main meeting, we had several items. We approved a new ordinance to create a municipal code, creating a residential tenant protection program. And, this was results of a housing study from several years ago. So council had given direction to move forward on several things, one of which is a requirement for landlords to offer a 1-year lease to all new tenants. They don't have to take it, but it needs to be offered. They can go 6 months, they can go month to month if they want, but making sure that, hearing over the last few years while on council that there are landlords that have raised rents multiple times in the same year makes it very difficult for a tenant to be there. And so this at least allows some yearly protection, that there's some expectation that okay, for the next year, here's what my rent's going to be. And then we also we also required basically 2 months rent for relocation expenses for non-just cause evictions. So for just cause evictions, it's like if someone's not paying rent or something of that nature, there's the landlord doesn't have to pay. But if the landlord is doing major renovations and kicking you out in the middle of your contract, and you then have to scramble to move, or they're deciding that they want to convert it from apartments into condos, all those things of making sure that people, our resident, basic tenants are able to be move. And so requiring 2 months rent relocation expenses, that's less than some cities, that's more than others. I think Mountain View requires 3 months, and I think Palo Alto requires I think $10,000 or something of that nature. But I think it's an equitable requirement for non-just cause evictions for our tenants. And then we also required posting about information about some of the tenant protections that the state provided for how often rents can go up and how high they can go up, as well as contact information for Sunnyvale housing staff. So if there are housing disputes, it's how housing staff can then put people in contact with Project Sentinel, who does landlord tenant mediation and things of that nature. So that was one of the things that we did that evening. We also improved Wi-Fi installation at the community center in the new common areas that are being created around the pond. One of the things that we did, I think the beginning of the year, it's all a big blur now, or the end of last year was decided to reduce the pond to about a third of its current size and add, picnic areas and playgrounds and a little more active areas. But part of that was to evaluate putting in Wi-Fi and what the ongoing costs would be, what the kind of the coverage areas should be. And so we decided to look at the new common areas, making sure that Wi-Fi is available there. And, we gave kind of direction that we should continue to look at, that around for every park that's being installed. So that's kind of an ongoing effort that as we renovate, Sunnyvale has a long-term 20-year plan to renovate all of the parks. And as we do that, we evaluate what Wi-Fi, whether or not Wi-Fi should be at those parks. Then last Saturday, it was actually Kids Day, Dia del Niños at Sunnyvale Community Services. And so it was good to visit there. It was fantastic to see so many happy families as they enjoyed, educational activities, art, science, math, reading, sports, or, it's like it was indoor, outdoor, there was a fire rig there. There was the SWAT team was there to kind of, meet with the kids, and there was a lot of happy faces. So thanks to all the partners that provided items for the day that made that day possible. It was actually really good to see so many kids, so many happy. And this was, I think they gave out like over 300 gift bags to the youth there. So it was good, it's like it was meals, it was snacks, but it's lots of educational information for kids and adults. And then it was just, activities to keep them interested. So great to visit that. And then on Saturday was also the last day for the Charles Street Gardens plant sale. They've had that for the last 2 weekends now. And for those that are starting their summer gardens, Master Gardeners was there giving some educational classes on tomato planting and other vegetable planting. So if you haven't been to our One Community Gardens, definitely go take a look at Charles Street Gardens. They have weekly classes, they have open gardens, they have basically community beds where people share that, and then they have people basically reserving beds so that for growing food. And it's really good from that standpoint to always see. I was one of the founding members there, helping build those beds years ago, and long before I got active on council. But it was good to see. It's good to see that volunteer group continue to grow and thrive within Sunnyvale. And then as far as this week is concerned, on Tuesday, council met at City Hall. And although, our City Hall chambers are still not open, we're able to do those meetings there in one of the bigger conference room. We started out with several special orders of the day. One was for Affordable Housing Month. So May is Affordable Housing Month. It was good to recognize Related California. So they're building the 90 units at the corner of Matilda, Iowa, and Charles Avenue. So that's on city-owned property. This is one of the things that we funded, that we basically reserved that property, and it's for seniors, it's for people with developmental disabilities, and so it's good to see that moving forward and honor those people. That should be opening up, I think, late this year, early next year. So happy to see that moving forward. We did a public service recognition week. So it's basically recognizing all of our city staff for their service to the city. We recognize Public Works Week, and basically it's for all of our park staff, for all the our transportation staff, making sure that everything that the infrastructure within the city, and including our parks, is working well. So it was good to thank them. And of course, and finally, we honored the municipal clerks, which it has not been easy for our city clerk's office, especially under COVID, with ever-changing rules and learning how to deal with new technology, and for us, it's been logistically, for council members, all we need to do is join the meeting, but a lot goes behind a lot goes on behind the scenes, and the city clerk office is in charge of that. They're also, the main points of interest for, information requests, for dealing with boards and commissions. There's lots of things that they have to do, on a weekly basis to make sure that we're meeting state laws as far as posting agendas, and then just running meetings and making sure that that's all working correctly. So it was good to honor them on Tuesday. We then had a presentation from Valley Water regarding the proposed rate increases for the upcoming year. And Valley Water Director Richard Santos was there, and several of their staff were there. For me, it's good to see that they're making progress on some projects that we've been wanting to make progress on. The big thing for me was to kind of call them to action on trying to do better on their rate increases. So, for at least North County, and it's kind of different between North County and South County, they've estimated rate increases of 9.9% for like the next 15 years. But because the drought, and because people use less water and water was more expensive, they're actually proposing a 14.5% increase for the next 2 years. And it was 15%, and they're like, well, we're going to use some reserves and reduce it to 14.5%. I push them because what we do is we get water from two different sources, the SFPUC and Valley Water. And one of the things that I wanted to do was try to, push them to say, well, for one thing, you need to be equitable across the county. And, what would always surprise me is there's tons of unmetered water in South County that's estimated, and they say they do yearly audits, but at the end of the day, getting them to actually monitor and pay exactly what they pull from the ground is really important. And then it's just from an equitable standpoint that it's like, okay, well, South County, we don't want, it's more agricultural, and we don't want them to have to pay as much. I'm sorry, it's like if it's water being pulled from the ground, it should be equitable. It's like, it shouldn't be, this portion of the county doesn't have to pay as much. So, for me, I pushed them on those two things, and it was good to see that they made progress. But from a city standpoint, we've estimated, I think, about 5.5%. And, we've actually utilized some of our reserves last year to not have to bump up our water as high as we thought it was going to be, because, it was 9.5% last year. Now it's almost 15%, and they need to figure out what they can do. So anyway, that's how we started the meeting. Quick presentation from Valley Water. As far as the general business, we had our annual assessment for downtown Sunnyvale business improvement district. So this is money that the downtown businesses pay to kind of revitalize downtown. A lot of times it's siphoned back into downtown to fund a lot of their events. So it was good to approve that. We also approved the draft 2023 Housing and Urban Development Plan. This is money that we basically give to different nonprofit service organizations within the city. This is CDBG money and HUD funding for lots of different projects, whether or not that's Sunnyvale Community Services, providing food, or their Work First program that they do with Downtown Streets team, or it's rehabilitation of the Carroll Inn, as they look to electrify. And so I've been working with other organizations trying to get additional funds for electrification, but there's lots of different programs. It funds Project Sentinel, which I mentioned earlier, which is the tenant and landlord mediation, and kind of giving tenants education on what their rights are program. So lots of good things as far as that's concerned. We also got our annual report from Public Safety on the military equipment use pursuant to California Bill number 481. So we need to have a yearly report There's a meeting actually scheduled for May 10th, which will go through, and that's at the community center on May 10th, where people can review the report, give public comment as far as that's concerned. And so that's basically just showing what equipment we have, whether or not it's the Bearcat, whether or not it's, flash bombs and other things that are in our reserves in case something happens. And that's one of the things that we rely on our public safety to make sure to be prepared for any occasion as far as that's concerned. Yesterday, of course, was May the 4th. So it was Star Wars Day at the Sunnyvale Public Library. You might have seen some of the photos there. Lots of happy kids. So thanks to the Friends of the Sunnyvale Library for what they're doing. They funded lots of there was a R2-D2 robot there. There were lots of people in Star Wars costumes. There were, activities for the kids. So Lego sets and lots of different things there. So thanks to the Friends for providing that. I think, it was good to see such a mix of girls and boys that were really excited to enjoy Star Wars. I think there's been a big upswing in Star Wars interest over the last few years. So good to be there and celebrate. And that's pretty much it for the week. As I said previously, I won't be covering weekly COVID numbers anymore, unless things change dramatically. It's still there. There's still questions about whether or not people should be getting their boosters and all that, and kind of changing upon age. But for me, I continue to spend lots of times advocating on our city's behalf, whether or not that's the county, state, federal level, whether or not it's with lots of our partners. I've been doing lots of advocacy with PG&E lately on different issues. During the storms and even now after the storm. So hopefully, that advocacy works for our city's benefit. Let's go ahead and get to some upcoming events. So May, of course, is bike month. And so please pledge to ride. There's a friendly competition between all the cities, and, Bike to Everywhere Day is, Bike to Everywhere is now multiple days. It's May 18th through the 20th, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And you can sign up, pledge to ride. You can win prizes. So lots of prizes being given away, lots of, especially those few days. There's Energizer stations around the county. There's a bike party. So definitely get out on your bike and ride this month. And then let's see what else is coming up. Next Thursday, May 11th. From 7 to 8:30 p.m. And also via Zoom. There will be a Unity event. So it's bystander training at Columbia Neighborhood Center. It'll be, via Zoom or in person. So you'll start signing up at 6:30 p.m. at Columbia. But it's, there's been lots of anti-Asian and, xenophobic harassment throughout the county, throughout the Bay Area, throughout the nation. And so this is basically an interactive training to help you intervene as a bystander without compromising your safety. And so it's training to go over kind of strategies to deal with intervention. You also kind of learn how to prioritize your own safety while intervening, and get practice on feeling more confident in how you would intervene if you ever saw any harassment. So to me, this is part of 3 Unity events that we're having this year. We had one about a month and a half ago. Our bystander training is this month, and then we'll have another event, I think, at the end of June. So I'll give more information on that when we get there. Next Saturday, the 13th, is our 38th annual Hands on the Arts Festival. This is event that's been happening for many, many years, even made it through COVID and kind of keeps changing. It's also a multicultural day. It's has art and dance workshops for children, for all ages. The main stage will have a wide variety of performances, basically a diverse group of different types of entertainers. There's cultural community group booths, there's puppet stage, there's roving performers, lots of the city departments will be there, and there'll be food to purchase. So definitely consider joining that. So that'll be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the community center. And then actually to kick that event off, there will actually be a bike parade from the Sunnyvale Public Library to the community center, and that'll start around 9:30 a.m. So you can sign up, you can register for that. And I think there's a small gift bag given away for all the people that are taking bikes to community center. There will be bike parking, so bike valet parking at the community center once we get there. So you don't have to worry about parking your car, and your bike will be safely stored while you're walking around and enjoying all the events. So come join the fun. I'll be there. So it's a week from Saturday. And then May 20th and actually that same day. So May 13th is also, I'm going to forget the event name, but the Downtown Association is having basically Wine Around the World, Walk Around the World event. It's a multicultural event all through downtown. So it's wine and food, so you can buy tickets online, and that starts, I think, at 11 a.m. that same Saturday, the 13th. So come join the event. It highlights different food from all over the world. That's one of the best things. That's one of the things about my Eat Sunnyvale restaurant project, that you see such a wide variety of restaurants that we have here in the city, and that's highlighted downtown. So it'll be wine and food. Come join that fun, and you can sign up there. And then May 20th, so the following Saturday, is National River Cleanup Day. You can help clean, basically prevent pollution in the bay by helping clean up our creeks. And so take a look at the city website, but there's events, happening around Santa Clara County, and you can go to our Sunnyvale Environmental Services page, Facebook page, there's the social media, and sign up, find the link to sign up from a county standpoint. And then as far as upcoming council meetings, we have a very busy month this month. So we had our first meeting this Tuesday. Next Monday and Tuesday, we have two very long meetings of interviews for our boards and commission applicants. So lots from that standpoint of interviewing for our boards and commissions. That I think started like 4 or 5 p.m. It'll probably go to 9 or 10 p.m. at night, and then. And so we have, our mid-year one is always one of the biggest recruiting areas, because we have so many people that have finished their terms on their board and commission. And this year, of course, we have our new Human Relations Commission, and we had lots of applicants who want to join that. So we're adding a brand new commission. So good from that standpoint. And then the following Tuesday, May 16th, and you might have seen these postings downtown, but we finally have our subsequent meeting to establish a pedestrian mall on the 100 blocks of South Murphy Avenue. And so this is kind of the second reading. It's kind of an addendum to the downtown specific plan on converting that into a pedestrian mall. And this was part of the process. It's like the devil is always in the details. We just can't say, oh, it's a pedestrian mall, Murphy Avenue is permanently closed. We need to kind of go through more from a process standpoint. So ultimately, that's what this is kind of the second meeting, and this will be a chance for people to give their input, and so hopefully that meeting will go smoothly. And then, everybody knows that I love art. So there's actually 2 items of art that evening. Council will be looking at approving 16 design proposals for the Great Box Cover-Up. So this is our utility box art project, phase 2. And then we'll look at authorizing, the art commission to approve select designs for phase 3. So that's our utility box art. And then we'll finally have, we talked about this a while ago, the final icon selection and the locations for our Sunnyvale icon sculpture project. And so the Art Commission would then approve the final icon design and select the artists. But it's trying to find what the icon is for Sunnyvale. We talked about a sun, so big sculptures of sun painted in different ways, and this is like the sharks in San Jose, or you've seen the heart. We are the heart of Silicon Valley, but the hearts of San Francisco. And we talked about crows or parrots, although crows have seemed to have been quite a bit reduced. But we'll see what the recommendations are from the Art Commission on what that final icon looks like. I haven't heard what their recommendations are, so it'll be interesting from that standpoint. And then that same Thursday, the 18th, we will have our all-day budget workshop. And so the budget was just released Tuesday night around 11 p.m. and the draft budget for 2023, 2024. And so every year council has 3 all-day meetings. The first is strategic session in January. We have a budget issue and study issue workshop in February. And then in May, we have our budget workshop. And so taking a look at next year's budget and lots of things of what we can add or remove from the budget. And so that's coming up on Thursday, May 18th. It starts at like 8:30 in the morning and goes usually until about 5 p.m. at night. So lots going on over the next month. From a council standpoint, let's go ahead and get to our weekly questions. If you have a question, please add it to the chat. And I will try to get through it. I had a few questions ahead of time. Several people ask, why was the former social media coordinator terminated? So from a council standpoint, we actually have 2 direct reports. We have the city manager and the city attorney, and all of city staff are basically run underneath their organizations. And council sets policy, we set service levels, and there's actually policy in place that we can't interfere with the operation of the city beyond kind of setting general direction. But I'd heard that Ash had been let go, and I enjoyed working with Ash for many years, and I'm really happy to see what she was able to do for our public safety department. From that standpoint, I know that position was a casual position, so a part-time position that could be terminated at any time. I don't know why she was terminated. So I am doing additional investigation with the city manager, with the chief on that from that standpoint. But sorry to see her go. And I'll see what information I can get that's shareable. But definitely she's made a difference. And having more of a presence from a public safety standpoint, I think has been very positive from the department. Ferris commented, glad you're back from vacation. I hope you enjoyed it. I actually got a chance to visit and got a tour of the new city hall. Even saw the mayor's office. I'm glad you're part of Sunnyvale community and such a wonderful inspiration. I hope to see you around downtown Sunnyvale sometime soon. So yeah, I'm downtown quite often. I'm thinking about reinstating, now that we're post-COVID. One of the things I did pre-COVID was doing market with the mayor. So once a month I was downtown during the market on Saturday morning, basically answering questions for a few hours and meeting residents. So looking to do that again. So happy to restart that, and hopefully people enjoy that. But one of my questions for residents and the viewers is whether or not they want this every week, whether or not they want this every few weeks. I'm going to not be as religious of doing this every week, but highlighting when I can what's going on, and maybe doing shorter versions just to highlight upcoming events or what's happening, in the next few days. But that's what social media is there for. Ron asked, any grand opening festival for the new city hall? And so, yeah, we had a a quick ribbon cutting at the beginning of April. And that ceremony was just kind of to kind of thank the construction team more than anything, and the council members who had spent so much time. This has been talked about for many years, having a new city hall, and it was good to finally cut the ribbon and have our staff move in. It's been an interesting month. There's still lots of things being fixed, and still minor problems, but we're slowly working our way through that. But the big event is really scheduled for State of the City in the fall. That is in September. That should be when all of the surrounding buildings have been torn down, all the old buildings, the old city hall, the annex, the portable buildings, and then that created into 6 acres of open space with new art and an amphitheater and all that. So looking forward to that. But that's when there'll be major scheduled tours of City Hall and behind the scenes, and lots of events on the new grounds. Jim asked previously, will there be bicycle racks at the new City Hall? So yes, they are. There are bicycle racks there, and they're getting a lot of good use, and I think they'll especially get used for Bike to Work Month. I'm planning to definitely bike there on the 18th for a budget workshop, so visit a few Energizer stations around the city, and then ultimately go to City Hall. Cynthia asked previously, what is NIXL? So NIXL is the emergency, and I got a few NIXL reports while I was on vacation. But basically it's a local emergency update. All you need to do is text your zip code to 888-777 to opt in. And whenever there's a road closure because of a major accident or water main break that's closing down streets, all those sorts of things are ultimately handled with NIXL. And let me see if there's any questions. Ferris commented, how was the weather in Ohio? Is it better than Sunnyvale? So actually, the week that we were there, no, it was actually raining. It was a little worse than the weather that we had here while I was visiting Dayton, the city of Riverside where I grew up. But it was good to be back there and good to see spring starting out. But yeah, the weather was mixed. We had, we went from the Grand Canyon and having, cold nights but sunny days in Santa Fe to rain in, let's say, Ohio and Indiana, to actually we got a little bit of snow in North Dakota, in Fargo and Bismarck. But it was a good trip, good to get away, and good to see some of the states that I actually hadn't visited before. So it was actually good from that standpoint. Let's go ahead and wrap up. Thanks for joining me again this week. We still live in uncertain times and new issues come up, almost every day. But I just want you all to know that no matter what challenges we face them together. I'm proud of Sunnyvale and how our residents have responded to the challenges over the last few years. I'm thankful to everyone who helps out in our community, showing generosity, kindness, just showing their goodwill to their fellow residents. So your actions and your attitude really do make a difference. Sunnyvale will emerge from this as a stronger community. We're in this together, and we will get through this together. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.